see everyone on screen. I know some of you, I've seen your names on LinkedIn, or I want to say maybe I've run into you at the grocery store because your face and your eyes look familiar with the whole mask. But I'm so glad that you have joined us today to learn about our programs. So I've been with Focus going on 9 years in August. They actually recruited me here from Cleveland, Ohio. And I have to say, it has been an amazing, 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 amazing journey. As part of that recruitment, part of my charge was to run our Women in Leadership program. And how can I best describe that program is along the lines of just 10 things that going through this program will force you, will challenge you, will question you to give up. And what are some of those things that from a day-to-day perspective just makes us hit pause? And those are excuses, excuses. You know, we all find them, make them up, use the pandemic. It's like, you know what, that is like so yesterday. Self-doubt, the fear of failure, procrastination, people pleasing, fear of success, negative thinking, negative self-talk, judgment of others, or just, negative toxic people in your circle. Those are the types of things that you'll have an opportunity to experience if you're open to it as a result of going through this program. So as I mentioned before, I ran the program for a couple of seasons, I like to say. And when I became president, I promptly, once I had the opportunity, recruited the person that I would say certainly, leadership, training, and development extraordinaire. And that is Shalia Ford. And Shalia has just been phenomenal in terms of her outreach for participants in the program and how she meets people where they are. You know, I told you about those 10 things, but what Shalia does is just beyond phenomenal because she meets with the class one-on-one. She finds out where you are, where you're looking to go, and how the wisdom of the room with her guidance can get you there. So it gives me, great pleasure that you're here today to learn about women in leadership. Focus has 10,000 plus alums. 75% of them still reside in town. And the cool thing about it, depending on who you are, is everywhere you go, you are bound to run into a Focus alum. And when my husband and I first moved here, I was like, oh, I wonder whether this is going to be similar to my leadership experience in Cleveland. Because one day we went to a cemetery, beautiful cemetery, we were walking around, and I looked at one of the headstones and I was like, oh my God, I wondered where she was. Okay, I see she's a resident up here. Well, I haven't had that experience just yet here, but going to the grocery stores, going to museums, taking a walk in the park, I run into Focus alums. And it warms my heart that we are practically 1 or even 0 degree of separation. And having that network, being educated about the relevant issues of our community just makes me feel as though, I can do more today from where I sit. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce to you the one and only Shalia Ford, a champion of women, an educator of women and emerging leaders, as well as young professionals and youth into our midst to kick this off officially for us today. So Shalia, off to you.
Thank you, Yami. Good morning. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am so glad you're here. When we started talking about how do we get the word out about women in leadership, we decided, the pandemic won't stop us. We've been able to pivot and do so many things virtually. Why not host our first virtual Women in Leadership information session? So thank you for being our special guest today. This is about you. You did come to learn about what it is we do, but just in the same token, we want to learn about you and want you to have a really great experience. So I'm going to share my slides for a few minutes just to let you see what can you expect on our agenda today, and then we'll move on and I'll share a little bit more about the program. Please, if you have questions, let us know. Kayla will be monitoring the chat for us and will help us to ensure we don't miss something. This, like we said, is being recorded, and if we need to share the slides with you later, or you want to pass this on to a friend of yours who you think would be a great candidate for the program, we want you to help us to get the word out. So today we're going to spend a little time talking about what is women in leadership at Focus St. Louis, who the ideal candidates are. We're going to hear from a couple of our current participants in class 73, and I'm excited about that. Then we'll open it up for Q&A from you. We'll hear from you, we'll answer your questions, and after that, I want to give you a micro experience of what it's like to build community with women in leadership. And after that opportunity, then we'll come back, share some next steps, and then conclude. I hope that you will just, again, take a deep breath, realize that this is your time. The fact that you're here and you're even interested indicates to me that you're ready to move forward in your career, in your life, as a civic citizen in our community. What do you need to know about women in leadership? The program was founded in 1981, but here's what I want you to know that's so important, is that I am also a graduate. I graduated with the class of 52. And what I'll tell you is that we had a great class then, and the program continues to evolve to meet the needs of women. We're a 3-month training program. We offer a total of 7 seminars, 4 seminar days, which are really about more of that personal reflective work. And then we have 3 field days where it's really about being out in the community. Our philosophy is that the classroom is really our community, and the best way to grow and to develop is to meet other leaders who can share with you how they've navigated through the waters of being a woman in leadership, and maybe being a woman in a male-dominated field. But how do we do that? And so we have wonderful and great conversations. And so what I want to tell you also is that we've recently decided to just call us Women in Leadership. And the reason for that is, as we're transitioning and pivoting, all of us have done something within that realm during this pandemic. Focus has too as an organization, but this program specifically is pivoting and really wanting to know what you as a woman need going forward to be successful in uncertain times and unprecedented times. And we need to hear from you. I'm designing the program to fit your need for the current woman who is ready to take the next step forward in her progression. Who should apply? I'm not going to read the bullets for you. You can do that. You should apply. YOU. Women in Leadership is for you. If you're feeling curious about what your next step is, or you're a little bit afraid of the uncertainty, or you're feeling a little stuck, or you're just saying, I need to be in a place where I can be seen and heard. This past year of the pandemic has kept me isolated, has kept me socially distanced to be safe, but now I need to connect with other women. We can do that virtually through our digital campus and platform. And when it's safe to do so, we will come back in person. So you're the ideal candidate. It doesn't matter where you are in terms of your career, whether you're new in your career, mid in your career, or you're thinking about exiting your career and retiring. Focus Women in Leadership is for you. Doesn't matter what age you are. Focus and Leadership, Women in Leadership is for you. We currently have in our class women who range in age from 30 to 60. Right? So I have an intergenerational cohort, and our sectors that we represent are diverse, and it's exactly what we need to have a thriving conversation and a thought-provoking conversation about what is critical in our community. Where do we fit in terms of our strengths and our skills and our gifts that we want to give back? And how do we do it together? No one goes far alone, but together we can go really far. And so Women in Leadership is for you if you're seeking an opportunity to connect, to be educated about the issues, and to have the courageous conversations that we need to have to move our region forward. And you might say, well, what is the time commitment? What do I have to invest in order to be a part of Women in Leadership? We ask that you commit to 7 seminar days, plus an opening reception, plus a closing graduation with all of our participants. Each year, Focus graduates upwards of 350 participants in all of our programs combined. And so we want you to be able to come together and be a part of that. So the dates are there. We also put that on the course, and so you can access it when you need to. What are the benefits of the program? Well, beyond having a deeper understanding of our region, being able to collaborate better, communicate better, facilitate difficult conversations, negotiate that next opportunity or that pay raise or that promotion, you're also going to be able to tap into a network. And Yami already said it, of 10,000 plus alumni. That's all of our programs combined from the inception of our organization. Like she said, 75% are still in our community, but you know what? We've all been able to learn how to reach out beyond our region and reach out nationally, whether that's through social media or it's through the connections that Focus gives you. And so really, it doesn't matter if they're residing in our region or not currently, there's a way to tap back into those alumni that can help you get to where you want to go. Next, you might be asking, okay, this sounds great, but how much does it cost? Can I afford it? You absolutely can afford it. Our tuition is $2,000 for the program, which in comparison to other programs is affordable and really is something that offers, that price point offers the opportunity for it to be accessible to all of us, not just some of us. So we're really trying to be inclusive with who we invite into the program so that the cohort is diverse in all the ways that it can be diverse. And so that price point is an affordable price point. If you need financial assistance, we have partners who are working with us to provide scholarships. And so two of them that I'm going to share with you today are on the screen. The Take Point Scholarship is in partnership with Regions and with the Veterans Business Resource Center. And those scholarships are specifically earmarked for active duty veterans and military spouses. We don't want to leave them out of this opportunity either. We also have a partnership with Emerson, who is supporting those individuals who are interested in the STEM fields. And specifically in the spring cohort, we try to bring in those individuals who can talk about the being in the STEM field and working in those industries and what is it like as a woman leader navigating those waters. And so again, don't let the tuition be a barrier to your participation. We have financial aid, we have scholarships, and those scholarship applications are offered once you're selected and invited to be a part of the program. What I'd like to do now is turn it over to two special guests that I've invited. I've invited current participants to share with you their experience thus far. And the reason I did this is because, like I said, Will is transitioning and changing. And this is my first virtual cohort with Will. And I don't want someone to tell you about what was 3 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. I want someone to tell you about what Will is today. And so I'm going to stop sharing my screen and ask that Alexis come on and say hello and share about 3 to 5 minutes of her experience with Will and why you are enjoying the Will experience thus far. Alexis, take it away.
So Shayla is the person that creates all the magic in this. And so as you kind of hear our stories, if you have questions, I'll put my LinkedIn link in so we can continue the conversation. But Shayla really does create magic. So even though virtually we're operating, we've never met face to face. Cassandra, who's going to speak next, I feel like I know her very well because of this authentic connection that we've made. And you saw it's only 7 classes, right? We still have 2 or 3 more to go. And we made that deep connection on the very first time. And so that to me is the most special gift that I'm going to take away for, I hope, the rest of my life, is the connections that I've made with what we call our sisters, our cohort sisters. But not only will you make authentic connections, but Shayla mentioned it's your time. So we start with, it's my time. We start with that. And she said, it's your time to move forward. And when I applied, I was like, oh, I'm happy in my role. I'm not looking for the next opportunity because I'm new in my current role. And I was like, oh, okay, it's my time to move forward. But that didn't really resonate with me. But through this work, I've discovered something about myself. So I love coaching women in particular in the job search function. So when they're interviewing, when they're seeking new roles, when they're negotiating their pay. And I've helped since this program started just a few months ago, I've helped at least 5 or 6 people, not just in focus, but around, in helping them get more money. And I never knew that that was something that I enjoy doing, and it unfolded naturally. So when Shayla says it's your time, and you may not know exactly what that means and exactly what might that look like for you, but I'm a perfect example of, I had no idea how it was going to unfold, and it just it is so beautiful. And now I'm like, how can I get more of this, right? So I'm going to stay happy in my job. I'm not looking for a new job, but how can I coach more people? So that's the other thing. Connect with me if you're seeking a job and you want to coach and, you know, just somebody to talk with to help you navigate that. And the women that come to speak, this is another gift. The women that come to speak are so powerful. They've navigated their career. Some of my favorite, you know, so many people think, well, your career goes step 1, 2, 3, and oftentimes it's such a zigzag. And so when you hear from other people what that zigzag looks like, then you can start imagining it for yourself. So seeing in other women paths that might appeal to you, or you're like, wow, she overcame all of these challenges and look at where she is. And so you can start to see yourself in these women that you've, you know, probably never interacted with before. And a common thing that people say is, I don't have enough time. I don't have enough time right now to do anything more. I'm strapped. This is my favorite time in my whole schedule. So when I'm meeting with my cohort, when I'm meeting, you know, with the capstone team and so forth, it's a highlight. So yeah, I've got something else to do on Saturdays and Sundays, but it's my favorite time. And so I hope that, you know, you'll find that to be true, that yes, there's more work to do. And there's a lot of stuff I'm putting off, like taxes, until after this is done. But you'll make the time, and it will be so valuable. I don't know anybody in our cohort, because we talk with everybody. I think everybody in our cohort feels that this is such a gift. The classroom, the virtual classroom, the tools, the technology that they have, those are top notch. So connect with me on LinkedIn. Let's further the conversation. I'm going to turn it over to Cassandra.
Thank you so much, Alexis. I was getting excited all over again, just listening to you and like, yeah, we got class on Thursday. Thank you for Shayla allowing me to come. I could talk all day about her, but God, you want to learn and get to know her for yourself. She is absolutely amazing. We've had a lot of things go on. I'm super excited to be in the first class that's completely virtual. So as Alexis said, don't let that make you feel like, well, will it be the same? Will it be, you know, won't be as good as in person? We have had some amazing dynamic connections virtually. Don't let the fact that it can't be in person hinder you or stop you from saying it won't give me what I need, because we have gotten what we needed and more from being even on a virtual connection. I think I can kind of speak from and would like to kind of this space from, I'm not from St. Louis, so I guess I'm what they call a transplant. And so I guess for me, honestly, I struggled just coming here and having the difference in culture and just really trying to figure out, where do I fit in this city? Like, where is there a good spot for me? And I think coupled with all the things that we see on the news are always just tragic things that are happening in our city and in our region. And that can kind of put you in a space where you could feel like, well, I don't think this is really the space for me. How do I fit in? How do I connect? And that's honestly the space that I was in prior to completing my application. But thank God I did, because once I got into this class, the orientation, we can start there. We didn't even get to the first class. The orientation Shayla showed up in all of her greatness, and I knew that I had done the right thing in completing my application and was so honored to have been accepted into Will Class 73. And so, ladies, I would say to you, if you are ready to connect with some like-minded women who are open, who are authentic, and who share your same passions, you just don't know it, then this is absolutely the program for you. If you have a love for St. Louis, if you don't really know the region, if you're not from here, but you want to learn more about all that St. Louis is doing, because there are some amazing things happening here, then this is absolutely the opportunity and the class that you want to connect to. If you're ready to step boldly into that next phase of your life and to do the things that you've only dreamed of doing, then this is the class absolutely for you. Like Alexis said, there's always we have to make time for the things that we want to do. And we have to, as women, be okay with taking time and investing in ourselves, because this is absolutely an investment in you, but it's going to be so beneficial to so many people around you that you meet and that you connect to. I would also say, if you're ready to live on purpose, then I urge you to complete your application for the next class that's coming up. This class is not your typical class. I know most times you sign up for a class and think, oh, what is this going to be about? We're on Zoom for like 6 or 7 hours. Like we lose track of time, and we're like, okay, so we're past time, but we're still here because no one wants to leave. It's that rich, and it's that authentic connection that we've made with all the women. If you're looking for a connection of women, a hub or resource so that you can really learn about what's going on in your city, and to just really be in a space like I was to meet women that I could actually connect with on a different level, then this class is for you. This program has absolutely inspired me to look beyond where I am and to focus on where I'm going. And I am so grateful for the opportunity to just share my experiences with you, and to for sure connect with the amazing women that I have in my class and the other 9,000+ women that I have the opportunity to connect with through being a partner in the Focus program. So thank you so much for allowing me to share. I will send it back to the amazing Shalia Ford, and she will give you some more insight.
Great. Thank you both, Cassandra and Alexis. I appreciate you sharing. And I knew, and here's the thing, I trust them enough. I didn't say, tell me what you're going to say. I know what their experience has been. We have been in sessions together. I've heard them speak out and share, and other women say how they've helped them and how they've been able to connect. And just that sharing and that vulnerability and that connecting is real. And so I don't need to coach them on what to say. What they've said is exactly what they've experienced, and it can be what you experience. So what I'm going to do now is transition us to Q&A. And so Kayla, why don't you help field some of the questions? If you have some now that you haven't put in the chat, go ahead and do that. And if you need to, raise your hand, we can have you come off mute and we can just respond to you in that way. But let's spend about 15 minutes of Q&A. And then after Q&A, we'll go into our micro experience, where you will have an opportunity to connect with some of the fabulous women who have decided to show up today to learn more. All right, Kayla, help me out. Let's see.
Thank you, Shayla. So we'll start off. Carmen is interested in knowing if you could speak a little bit more to how we support the cohort in navigating difficult conversations.
Wonderful question, Carmen, and thank you. And what's so great is I know Carmen, so I'm just going to say hi to her. I will start off that, but if Alexis, Cassandra, Yami want to jump in, you definitely could do that. One of the ways that we help you navigate difficult conversations is you have to show up and be you. You have to be willing to strip off the mask or, the superwoman cape and just be real and make authentic connection. And from there, conversations can happen. Alexis, I saw you wanted to respond. Why don't you share a little bit about how you've been able to learn to navigate difficult conversations?
Yeah, so I actually have a real example, not within the cohort, but I'm living one as a manager where I'm struggling. And after, listening to Shayla and so forth, I said, you know what, I'm going to reach out to Shayla one-on-one and have a conversation. And so she's helped me in looking at it from a new perspective. Cassandra, I don't know if you have anything to add.
Yeah, what I will add, and one of the things that I love about Shayla, and I've said this to her many times, is that she is so intentional about creating a safe environment. And it's not just about, it's the content and the conversation is there, but she's very intentional and she's very deliberate about making sure that the environment is safe for the women. And even if she think the conversation would be good, but it would affect the safety of the environment of us, then she doesn't do it. So we've had those difficult conversations and she's been amazing at navigating just the safety for us emotionally. And that's something that I definitely appreciate.
Hopefully that answered your question, Carmen. If not, let us know. Kayla, where are the other questions that are coming in?
Yep, so Lindsay is curious how field days have been working in a COVID world.
Awesome. You know what? I could share that, but I'm gonna kick it back to Cassandra and Alexis. They can tell you how we've been doing our field days.
Field days where we can't be in person have been absolutely phenomenal. And had someone told me that you could have an amazing field day virtually, because I thought the same thing. I was like, oh, we don't get to go out and to be in person and live. It has been absolutely amazing. And when I tell you we've missed nothing, there's been no stone unturned virtually. You still get the same amazing experience, even if we're not in person.
And people are assigned, right, to our the women that we bring in, the interviewing, the panels. So you've got your a team that you're working with, and each team is assigned one of those to help coordinate the questions. And so you're living, and Cassandra and I were on the same team, and you learn about working with diverse women who have different ideas of how to approach a panel, right? And having those tough conversations. And so I think that in this virtual day and age, learning how to do these and conducting them virtually, we were able to bring in people nationally that we wouldn't have met with. And we were able to learn, how do you conduct a panel virtually? How do you keep people engaged in that? And we had hands-on experience with that. So Cassandra said we didn't skip a beat. I am glad that we got to experience it virtually, just to learn it from a new perspective.
And our field days, again, are those interviews. And what I've shifted and done a little bit differently for our virtual field days is we start the day with a conversation with. So it's almost like you're in your living room, right? You're in the Zoom living room, and we're interviewing one woman in particular. Now, coming up, we're going to have a 2-for-1 where we get to, and I'm smiling because I see V on the camera. We get to have Allie and Leslie from Rung come and have a conversation with us, and that pairing made sense because I'm like, I know that they've been working together. The limited information I do know, they've been working together from back when this was a vision that Allie had and Leslie came on, and they've built this great organization. So why not have a conversation with them? The other part of the field day is next a lead her with an emphasis on her, HER, roundtables, where we bring women in who are leading in the particular field or topic area. So Cassandra and Alexis were able to speak to women who are working in nonprofit and corporate and talk about how are they navigating. And I don't moderate. What they were explaining is that each, a small set of the cohort is assigned to moderate the conversation. So you're actually coming up with the questions and leading the conversation. My job is to invite women to come And when they say yes, then I share, this is who's coming. Now you go do the work. You research them, you design the questions, you lead the conversation virtually, and it goes where you want it to go because you've designed it. And so that's a unique aspect of the program where sometimes you're just kind of setting and getting. This is not that. And then the afternoon of our field days are dedicated to what I call career builders. And so we've had someone come in to tell us, how do we boss up our LinkedIn profile, right? Because LinkedIn is the place to be to connect professionally. So how do you do that? We also had someone come in to talk about your resume and talk about how you might need to learn to sell yourself better, tell your story, tell your value add in a new way. And so she gave them tips and tools about that. I also did a session on salary negotiation. And it just so happened that people were saying, I'm up for a performance review, I'm up for a promotion, or there's an opportunity that's been presented. How do I talk about it? How do I negotiate not just your salary, but the benefits? How do I negotiate the entire package? We gave tips and tools for that. I know that was a long answer, but I guess I just want to clarify. Field days look a little different than they have in the past, but we don't miss a beat. Next question, Kayla.
Wonderful. So Yami was able to address some questions about selection day. However, I'd like to bring it to the group at large. If you could just speak to the process of what that looks like, if there's a cap, and in general, what the acceptance rate looks like.
Okay, great question. Selection day is an opportunity for you to really share who you are with alumni of the program. So alumni are the ones who are interviewing you. When we, and right now we've been doing that virtually too. And so what that looks like is it could be a Zoom call or it could be a phone call interview, but you're having an opportunity to share more about who you are. We do have some very specific questions that we're asking about who you are, what are your goals, how, what's an issue that you see that women are facing in our region? How are you already connected and involved in doing work in the community? Focus is different in that we are a civic leadership organization. And so beyond just how do you lead in general, it is specific that you're leading for a reason and that you are civically involved in your community in whatever way that makes sense to you. And so part of that selection process is that. Right now, our cohort currently is at 21. I believe we interviewed probably 50% higher than that. And so we are intentional to keep them small so that the community building can happen, so that just that connection can happen. Between seminar days, there's a capstone project that is, again, a smaller group of the cohort are working on. And so it's important for us to just kind of have that small, intimate feel in the program, but then you get connected to the broader organization and network. I know that was, again, a long question. I can give you details because I love details. And so sometimes I'm like, am I hitting the right tone? Am I answering your question? The selection process is probably like no other that you've experienced too. So we are intentional about stretching you outside of your comfort zone. And you might question, should I be doing this? And oh, what did I get myself into? But that's exactly where you want to be. Part of one of our mantras as an organization overall, you'll hear it from all of us at Focus, is our goal is to get you to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, because in that place, that's where the learning happens. That's where the magic happens. That's where you have the aha moment and you decide, I need to pivot, or I need to lean into this, or I need to go do some more work, internal work. Leadership is an inside job in my mind. And so that's what we're encouraging you to do in our program.
Wonderful, thank you. So Deanna is curious, can you talk a little bit about how you approach conversations surrounding diversity, inclusion, and equity?
I'm going to kick it over to Cassandra and Alexis because we just had a DEI day, and all I can tell you is it's not your typical DE&I conversation, but it's still powerful. So I'm going to be quiet and let you all respond to that question.
Cassandra, do you?
I'll let you go. Go ahead, Alexis.
Okay. So I am lucky because my capstone we are focused on, we've laser focused into how do you retain diverse people, right? So that's that. So our capstone project actually is tied to the day that we just had. And so I was like soaking it up, everything that I could learn from. So we had so many materials ahead of time to really dive into. Language that you know, new ways of looking at language from a diversity and inclusion standpoint, hearing what women are doing. And so I would say, as somebody who's been focused on diversity for years, I learned things and saw things in ways, had, you know, thought of issues and challenges with diversity in ways that I've never before. So let me give you a true to life example. So in my capstone project, we were trying to figure out what we were going to do from a diversity standpoint. And because there's so much diversity in the cohort, we can share our own experiences about how we feel different than, right? And so one of my peers in the capstone group was talking about how when she goes to the emergency room, she's written off. Like, she cannot get service in an emergency room the way that I can. And I never even thought about racism in the medical space. And so this is where, no matter where you are in your learning from a diversity and inclusion standpoint, you will have new experiences that give you more diverse experiences to learn more, and then really understand, how can I help make a difference? How can I help diverse women fight for more pay? That's the lane I'm going in, right? And that was something that I wouldn't have been able to discover without this experience. Cassandra?
Absolutely. I agree with Alexis. That's a really great question, because we literally just wrapped that session on Saturday. And when people see that, it can be just that's going to be the discussion. And again, what I love about Shayla is her how intentional she is about not just bringing people to talk about it, but making sure she brings the right people to feed us in a safe way. Because that topic, even before the speakers came on, for us, even as a cohort, because we are 30 to 60, very diverse, people spoke of, here's my challenge with this. Here is how I feel about this. Even before we entered into the conversation, here's what I'm expecting. Here is what I'm nervous about. Here is what I think could happen. So we were able to be in a safe space because Shayla provided that. And we were able to share kind of our fears, our expectations. And then she brings in an amazing group of people that were able to share information as it relates to DEI from their perspective, and to give us different insights that maybe we had not thought about. So we have those tough conversations, but it's always in a safe space that allows us to be open to share at the level that we want to, and still make sure that emotionally we are okay.
Thank you for answering that. Hopefully that got, helped you understand kind of where we go with that. But the focus was diverse stories and disruptive strategies. And what we learned is that the strategy was in the story. So it was about, how do we share those stories with those DEI champions? And then we had an opportunity as a cohort to go in small groups and share our own stories, what we felt safe sharing, and being curious and calling each other in, never calling each other out. And we've done that as a cohort and a sisterhood from day one. That was part of the community we said we wanted for each other. And they've showed up that way. And they share things. And when they got done on that particular time, and they'll notice, I didn't say come back and share with the main room. I said, it's time for lunch. Because those stories were your stories. That was your conversation. And I didn't need to hear that. But you needed to share that with one another, because part of DEI, and I said it and posted on LinkedIn, because we had this conversation and someone kind of put that they planted that seed. But DEI is really a 21st century leadership and life skill. And if you're not talking about it, if you're not willing to have the tough conversations, even with that sphere of influence that you have, you are missing out on an opportunity, because it's hard. And yes, we all need to do some learning and unlearning, and no, the Black person shouldn't be the one in the room that has to teach the white person, or the gay person in the room shouldn't. It's not about you teaching others unless you choose to. It is about sharing stories and conversations. And then from that, you learn strategies that you can use. Some big picture strategies, some real personal individual strategies. That's what's important about the conversation and where we started from. And I don't think that it's the end all be all. It is the start of one conversation, and each woman has to choose to take the next step on that journey of learning more. And that's why we provide resources and information and get them connected with others that they can continue conversations with. Kayla, where are we at on questions?
Yeah, I believe we have at least one more. So I'm actually going to turn it over to Carmen to welcome her to unmute and join us for a question that might be more suited for our verbal presentation.
Okay, great.
So thank you guys. I wanted to ask this question. As Rung for Women, I'm in that cohort and they really helped me with this, but it's something that constantly comes up as I meet new people. Shayla, we talked about this, fear. So when we enter the intersection of fear, how do you support potential cohorts to be bold, to be able to be authentic and transparent, especially when they are presenting to your Will alum? When we see such a force as Shayla, like, you know what it is, Shayla. So it took a minute for me to strip down that mask and to be able to show up authentic. It took 9 months of intense work with Rung to get me to this place of being able to say, I'm scared, boss. So how do we show up in this place with all of these powerful women and be able to have a voice and speak? And how do you hold space with your other cohort sisters?
Great question. I'll start it, and if Cassandra and Alexis want to join in. On the first day, our opening reception, I just put it out there. I said, let's talk about fears right now. Let's share that. And I know people are like, what? You want me to say that thing that I'm afraid to say to someone that I don't even know yet? Absolutely. I did that because if we can't verbalize it, then we can't move past it. So let's call it out. I'm afraid of this. I'm afraid of that. I'm concerned that if I do this, I won't have the support. What happens if I fail? All the things that actually Yami started out with. Fear of failure, fear of success, fear of the unknown, fear of I'm the different one, or I'm the first one, or I'm the only one. All of that, we got it out on day one and said, let's create this brave space together. And I challenged the cohort on that first evening to consider vocational courage, which is a new term I learned during the pandemic from a book called The Purpose Path, that basically, in a paraphrase, is about understanding who you are and the significant contribution you are supposed to make and only you can make, and that you're living that life daily, where you live, learn, work, play, and worship. How do you do that? That's part of it, acknowledging that there's fear and doing it anyway. We also did a fear assessment, and I shared some other resources that really were kind of that self-driven work that I said, here's the resource. And if you choose to follow up with it and do the work, it'll help you get to the place that you want to go. So that's one way. But Cassandra and Alexis, do you have any more you want to add about addressing fears and being in a safe space and talking and sharing your truth and your voice?
Absolutely. That was a really great question, Carmen. I'm so glad you asked. I'm smiling because as Shayla was talking, I can tell you right now, I'm one that's usually not quick to go into that vulnerable space just because I need to safeguard for just various reasons, past experiences, that kind of thing. And so in saying that, I come in with all of my armor on, ready for the orientation in a positive way. And as we were going through our exercises, was the very first person to go into the whole real bad, ugly cry. Not on purpose, didn't expect it, had to turn the camera off. And I think in that moment, I had to give myself permission to be in that space, to sit in it and be okay with it. And then coming in, it's a mindset You don't come in with and there's going to be some amazing, powerful women in the group. And I think that's what makes it so amazing. So even if, Alexis is an SVP or an EVP or whatever somebody else's title is, I'm excited for her. But that doesn't mean that takes away from whoever Cassandra is or whoever Carmen is, because your journey and what you have to share is still very important. So it's don't come in with a compare. It's a come in, let me meet, let me learn. And again, I go back to how amazing Shayla is. You share and you become vulnerable when you are ready. There's not a time frame. It's not on the list of expectations. You come in and you sit in this space, and when you are ready, you share, you be vulnerable at the level that you are comfortable with. And that's the thing that I love about the program. And Shayla and all her greatness is so amazing about setting the atmosphere in the environment. And the atmosphere, the night of orientation was set at such a high level. I even reached back and told her that I felt that and I was like, I just met these ladies. I'm in a whole ugly cry, like the camera turn off cry. And I was okay with that. And that told me that very first night of orientation, this is exactly where I'm supposed to be. Exactly.
Yeah, and I think through all the exercises that we have, the connections that we get to make with people, the deep connections that we make with people, then you feel safer because of the connections, but also then you lift people up, right? So there are some of us in our cohort that aren't the first to speak. And I'll, direct message and say, come on, I want to hear what you have to say, right? So that each of us in the cohort is valuing each individual and what they bring. And so that I think helps make that safe space. It absolutely is magical the way Shayla's created it, but I think it's also intentional with all the exercises that we have on making these deep connections very quickly to, like I said, every single person in our cohort. I feel very safe sharing, and I know that, based on what they're sharing, and that helps us reach to the next level.
Thank you. Thank you for the question, and thank you all for answering. Here's what we're going to do. If there's more questions, go ahead and still put them in the chat. But I have to give you a bit of a micro experience, right? I have to let you see and experience this on your own. You've asked questions, you've gotten the responses. Now what I'd like us to do is go off into breakout rooms and small groups of maybe four or five. And I want you to introduce yourself, tell them who you are, and then I want you to answer two questions. And I'm going to ask Kayla to drop them in the chat. But one is, why are you interested in Will? Share that, say it with someone else. And then what I want you to do is just what's resonating with you right now about the program. Have you already heard something where you're like, oh, I'm stuck, or it's the next level, or, oh, they're thinking about DE&I differently. I need to hear that conversation. Tell them what's resonating. When you come back, you're not going to have to share. So, feel comfortable sharing in confidence. But I'm just going to tell you a couple of things about the next steps, and then we'll conclude for the day. So Kayla, can you go ahead and get us sent off into breakout rooms? You'll have about 10 minutes. It's going to run us over maybe 5, but hang in with us, because I think this part is important for you to just connect with some other women, look them in the eye, hear from them. And if you want, connect via LinkedIn, put in your contact info in the breakout room chat, and then just that small group can connect later on. So go ahead, have about 10 minutes of connecting with one another, and we'll see you back here in about 10. You'll get time reminders from Kayla.